I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Kaylen.
And today we're going to be talking about the difference between a standby, a swing, and an understudy. So like why you need an understudy or a swing or a standby. It's when like the principal performer gets sick or calls out, and it's on to this either the swing, understudy, and standby who are at the theater always prepared to go on, which I think that's cool that they at least have them all like, they're prepared if like, obviously if they know in advance if like someone's gonna be off, but like if something
if anything happens, they're there.
Yeah, they're like there and they're prepared and they know the show and they know what to do. Like I think that's really cool. They are sometimes the unsung heroes because, like I said, like some of them, sometimes an understudy has to go on like right in the middle of a performance.
I can't even imagine, that has to be crazy.
Yeah, like I know in Dear Evan Hansen, like Ben Platt was the lead and played Evan Hansen, he got sick one performance and they had the understudy Michael E. Brown go on mid-performance and he like had no rehearsal for it.
Oh my gosh.
So like sometimes they get rehearsals, but like to throw yourself right in there and like not really know like.
Like it is like one thing to like know the part, but then like you don't expect to have to go on. So when you're just like thrown into it.
Like especially if you like go into the theater that night and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna like, sit and like whatever, and like then it's like all of a sudden like it's on you to save the show because it's like they're not gonna like cancel it because all these people paid so much money to come see the show, so they have to put on a performance. Both the understudy, the swing, and the standby, they have to know each and every part of the show and be ready to go on at like literally no rehearsal or any advance notice. Like they just have to be ready to like get out there and like do it. It's like 1, 2, 3, go. Like, I just feel like that would be so nerve-wracking.
No, definitely. I can't even imagine having to know every part. And you don't know at what point you're gonna be thrown and what part you're gonna be thrown into.
Exactly. There's like multiple parts that you could be like an understudy for. So like you have to know each part, the choreography, like where they go this, like when they're saying this, what are they doing, like what is their emotion, like that's just so much for one person to learn and like and understand and be like but like also what happens if like 2 people call out and then there's not enough understudy and you have to go on for both parts, like how would you even do that?
I can't even imagine. That's crazy.
So, a swing is deemed one of the hardest roles on Broadway. Most nights a swing isn't on stage. They're responsible for all the tracks for the ensemble and principal roles, that's a lot.
Which means like they have to know all the songs, right?
Yeah. And they have to know like the ensemble, like all the dance numbers and everything. Which that's a lot in itself because there's a lot of the ensemble members, so you could be they swing on for like any ensemble track, and then plus also knowing the principal roles, like depending on how many principals.
Like even like just knowing the dances, like knowing the blocking of person in the ensemble.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
Because like sometimes like they do opposite, like different tracks do opposite the other tracks.
Yeah.
So like if you're used to like, and if you're in the ensemble and you're used to like that, then you're gonna be like so messed up when it's like okay, you're on for this, like.
Yeah.
They can. This is so they, like, why they have to learn everything is so they can step into any part and, like, of the show at any moment they need to. They're like superheroes, everyone says, because they literally could save the show if, like, something went wrong. And, you need the swing on, like, they're there, so they're ready. And, they would just have to get, like, obviously in costume and makeup and, like, a wig or anything. Like, but they're always ready to save the day. But, like, they have to learn they have to learn so much. Like, that is, like, a demanding role. And, like, how some people, like, just pay attention to, like, the main, the main performer, everything, and they, like, forget about, like, an understudy or a swing. Like, a swing especially. I feel like most people know, like, an understudy. Like, they don't necessarily know what the role of, like, a swing is. And, like, I don't know, that's just crazy that they literally could just swing on for, like, just, like, swing on out for, like, anyone. Like, that's crazy.
Like how you were talking about, like, you don't know, like, what part. Like, I'm just thinking about costume-wise, because, like, some costumes, like, they're made specifically for that person. Exactly. And then, obviously, like, wouldn't have a costume for the swing.
Yeah, like, I think, I know. That's
so, like, trying to figure that out, too.
Yeah, like, because then they'd have to, like, it'd take longer to like fit you in and like make sure like, especially like, okay, if they could plan like, okay, but like a swing is more like on the drop of how like they swing in, or like sometimes they know they're like, oh, you're gonna swing in for this track.
Yeah.
But like if you don't have like a lot of time to know what you're doing, like that's crazy.
No, definitely. I can't even imagine.
But like I like that term though. Like you're swing, hey, I'm a swing. I'm a swing in the room. Like I don't know, but that's like, I guess like good in a sense because they're able to like, you know, save the show if necessary. But like also, that's so much to remember in your brain because it's not just like, oh, you're like watching the principal role. It's like no, you have to know every like ensemble.
Like dance number, everything.
Yeah. Although like most of the time they're like not on like I said they're not on like the stage every night, so they're just like sitting like watching the show, which is like good because I guess then maybe you would know like, you know, like, oh, and I know like they could swing out of the show totally to not even be in the theater. They could sit in like the audience and watch. So like sometimes like that would be like good, I guess.
Yeah, that would be beneficial because then they could see it like sitting in the audience too, like what it looks like to other people, so like they kind of know what they have to do.
Yeah, they would know what to expect. I don't know, but that's I guess a good thing to be the superheroes of they could save the show.
Yeah. I feel like people don't recognize them as much just because like you don't think about the swing like being there ready, but they have them for every show. So
exactly, and they're always like in the theater. Like just because you don't see them at like necessarily the show you go to see, like doesn't mean that they're not like doing something and like prepare to go on because like that's like a main role on Broadway, like a principal role, like that's hard and everything, but like especially with like the, you know, either a standby swing and understudy, like that's just if not more like harder than a normal like principal role.
Yeah, no, I definitely think like you don't think about the swing like putting that much time into it and you're like, oh no, like the lead role has to do most work, but like that's not always true. Like while they put work in all the time, like but
yeah, I feel like the swing is definitely the lowest on the totem pole of all like the list. We'll be back after this break. And we're back to talk about understudies. So unlike a swing and understudy, they're always in the show for every performance. Like they have other roles than just, you know, they're normally in the ensemble or whatever, but then they do understudy like the lead roles. They're either, like I said, either in an ensemble track, which is like basically the case, or they could have like a less intense principal role. They understudy a large role. Understudy is on a swing, usually is in place of the understudy. So like when an understudy is on, like usually then the swing swings into.
Oh, would take like the understudy's part.
Yeah. Like the understudy normally does during the show, since like I said. Like,
that makes sense.
Yeah. But like, cause like the understudy is like different from the swing, cause like swings are not in the show every night, they're only in for when they need to like swing on, but like an understudy, they're always
there all the time.
Yeah, they're there all the time. Which I feel like is better for them because they're always there and on the stage, so they know.
You're used to being on stage and like
although like it's like a different part they have to play than their normal like everyday routine, but like at least
they kind of like know like the atmosphere on the stage, whether like even though they're focused on their role still.
Yeah. They know more of like, you know, the whole.
No, like the whole aspect of like being on stage, like with that cast too, like I don't know.
Exactly. So they know, like, you know, they have like more of like the chemistry with the like the, you know, the group of people that they're working with like every day, and they're like on the stage and everything. And I know like very rare that like an understudy goes on, but there are those cases that like, you know, if one of them gets sick or anything, they need to. I think that's cool that they have then someone to take over for.
Like it's almost like a hierarchy of like, oh, like if the understudy has to go on, the swing just takes the understudy spot.
Exactly.
So like they have it all covered. So that's good.
Yeah. So there's like kind of like constant rotation that like, you know, one's out, then like the next one jumps in.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And then a standby is similar to a swing, and they barely perform. Like a standby is like less likely to perform than like a swing, or
Okay.
like the understudy is like the most likely to go on because they're on every night. They have it, but standbys have the heftiest roles in theater. They're in the event of an actor is unable to perform. For example, Wicked had 2 standbys for Glinda and Elphaba. They cover one role and must be able to tackle at any time. So like they're more focused on just like that one role.
Oh,
like
a certain
Wicked,
role, yeah.
Like in Wicked, there was only like 1 standby for the character of Glinda and 1 for Elphaba, so they only know like that role.
Yeah.
And then they like go on when.
So like, does the standby go on before the swing, or would that be like if there's something happens to the swing too? Like does it go like?
I think it would go in that sense, like standby, because like although they never really go on, so I think it had to be like scheduled. Like okay, you're you're covering this part of it. So like it definitely takes.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think that's cool that they have 2 different like standbys, so they didn't have like one person know both things. So that
was helpful to them because they didn't know like both parts, like and like big parts like that.
Yeah, but like also it's gotta be kind of boring to be a standby. Cause like a swing, you're not on normally, so you're just like sitting there like watching. I guess you would really know the show then by watching it so many times. But like I don't know, I think it's interesting, and that like, cause again their like expectation is like that one role they cover.
Yeah, and like they're gonna know a lot about that role because they're only focused on that one, whereas like a swing would be like everybody.
And whereas like in an understudy, like they know like they have to study the main principal role and the other ensemble tracks, but whereas a standby, they only have to know what that one role they cover for.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, like more, like we said, like not as taxing as the other ones on them. But like, that wouldn't be a lot though, like, if you're just for one, like, like.
Yeah, and like if you're like waiting to go on and then like, I don't know, the understudy goes on and like you said, like you never really make it on the stage, like that, like knowing it all, like that kind of has to be like, oh, I learned it all and then I never needed to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would kind of, that would probably be like disappointing to you, that you like learned all this stuff and like you don't need it, like I don't know. And like I think especially in the case of Wicked that they have like that they're not just making one standby be for like both of the like the lead like girls, like that they have one for each, that way they know like like if the if they need a standby and the person for Glinda's out, then they'd go with this person and like if not they would go with the like obviously then they would probably move down the ranks, I would guess, because I don't know who you would call if there was no one, like, then they'd be out of
That's why they have so many people to cover.
Yeah, that's true. Which, I don't know, that would be, could you imagine if they were out of, like, all, like, the understudy and the.
No.
Like, that would just.
That would not be good.
No.
And they probably like wouldn't even expect it to happen because like they have so many people in place to do that. So.
But they definitely like would have to cancel the show, I guess, because they can't go on.
If it's like a main role, Yeah,
and if you have no one to cover, then there's nothing.
There's nothing you could do. Yeah.
That's crazy though, to have like all those people set up in case.
And like, I mean, you need that because like you said, like people are paying so much money for that like they can't really cancel the show.
Oh, exactly.
Unless they like really have to.
Yeah, unless it was like a serious situation, like that's the only way. So they have like all these people like in place. Like, I just think it's interesting for a standby, like literally they just stand by, like as funny as that is. But, like, but they're just there for that like one purpose, so they don't like. Like, I mean, I guess it's easier on them because they don't have to know all these other.
They just have to know their main role.
Yeah, they're just responsible for their main role that they cover, and that's it. We'll be back to talk about how many tracks a swing covers after this break. We're back to talk about how many tracks a swing covers So the number of tracks depends on the size and diversity of the ensemble, which is understandable because like if you have a big one, you're gonna like, you know, if you don't have that many swings, they're gonna be responsible for like, you know, retaining like a lot, like knowing a lot.
Like the more people you have in the ensemble, the more swings you're gonna have.
Yeah.
Just like they don't need to know so much.
And so like, for example, like a male swing on the national tour, Kinky Boots covers a total of 17 tracks. That's a lot to know. Like for one, like, you know, like if that's your role, like you have to know 17 tracks. Like that's crazy. Let alone like, you think like 5 is a lot, like 17. Like how would they? I'm sure like their brains are probably like, okay, what do I gotta do?
Yeah, like again, you can go on at any moment. So like knowing that many, that's crazy.
Exactly. I couldn't even imagine like 17. That's like, I mean, like I know there could be like a crazier amount of numbers, but that just seems like awfully really high.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
No, definitely.
But like some shows, like the swings only cover like five tracks, which that's still like a lot. Like I said, like you would think 5 is a lot, but like when you compare to 17, like 17 definitely beats that out, and it's like way too. Like that's just crazy.
No, that's like so many. When you're thinking like it could be like 5 to 17, like you gotta be super good at what you do to be covering 17 songs. Like that's crazy.
Exactly. You have to like really know. You have to really know that show and like really know all those parts, because if not, then that's not gonna be a good show.
Yeah.
If you're on. When the swing goes on, they're expected to execute the track exactly as like, you know, how the lead would, or like how the other performer would, which I think that's like, I don't know, that's like kind of hard.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah, like definitely nerve-wracking and like hard because like no two people are the same.
Yeah.
So like how, like I get it, like, you know, they want like the quality of the show to like, you know, be the highest it could be, but like to like, you know, judge two people who are like, could be like completely like different, you know, how they like, cause it's all like up to like, I get like you're supposed to like put on the same story and like that, but like it's all up to interpretation. Like you could read something and think it means one thing, and like then I could read something and like think it's a totally different thing. Like, and I feel like that goes for that. Like,
yeah,
no two performers are gonna put on like the exact performance as another. Like there's just no possible way, unless you're like really that good at like.
And like we said, how like the swing's not on like every night or like on the show, so like on stage, so like they might not have the chemistry they do with the performers as like a person who's on stage all the time.
Exactly. And then like also I'd be like it could be very like noticeable if they do make a mistake. Like I get why, but like it would be very noticeable. Like if they do make a mistake, because then it wouldn't just like mesh together, and like you wouldn't like get, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the same quality. But like I think it's crazy how if a swing sings and like they're like, you know how they have like soprano, alto, like whatever, like if they sing like a different thing, they have to sing the same notes and like style as that performer.
Oh,
that
yeah,
can
yeah.
be tough. Like if you're a higher singer, to sing
Definitely.
like alto, which is low, like lower for like a girl. Like how do you, like I get it, like you're trained and everything, but still like that's gotta like.
No, that makes it even harder. Like there's just
Exactly.
one more thing to add on.
And like you gotta be careful. Like you can train your voice, like, you know, like do some damage there, and like then it's like. Then
like
you're
if your
gonna
voice isn't trained to do that, like, yeah, they're trained, but like if their voice isn't trained to do that, usually, that could definitely cause issues.
Like you're gonna have like major issues there, and you could like lead to vocal injuries and like all this stuff. But like that's not.
Yeah.
Like I get, okay, you want to put on like the same quality, but like there's got to be a way to do that with not like, you know, cause harm. But like, I mean, like I get it, they are like professionals and like that, so like they probably do know how to like do it and not like overdo it to the point where they're hurting like their vocal cords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like that's tough enough, let alone like, you know, you have to execute it the same way pretty much they did, but like you have to sing exactly like they did. Like what if they hit that high note and you can't hit it? Like I get like they probably like tailor it a little bit so like, you know, it doesn't sound bad, but like they probably if you didn't, like in the case that they could go on at any single moment. Like, you don't have practice, like, you didn't practice for that, or you didn't rehearse for that, so you don't know, like, and, like, also, like, you don't know how it's gonna come out, like, do you just
And
go
it's,
with
like,
the flow?
also, like, kind of crazy, like, trying to remember, like, who, like, what performer is at, like, what sound. Like, you know, like, to know the sound of their voice.
Yeah, to, like, yeah.
To try to match that. Like, even remembering that.
And they have to also, like, I think, like, also they have to, like, execute everything, but especially, like, also the choreography. And, like, also, like, what if that person was more flexible? Like, I get most of them are, like, all flexible or whatever, but, like, what if they were more flexible than you, and, like, you do it and you get hurt? Like, I feel like, I mean, I'm sure they do take an account for, like, you know, like, realize, like, that is probably an issue, and, like, but, like, they're probably confident that it won't happen. But, like, still, like, what if that...
There's that chance.
I know, there's always a chance that something could go wrong, something's not gonna go as planned, and you just gotta, like, but I guess that's, like, you just gotta flow with it, like, I don't know, there's no going back once you're in, like, the middle of it, but... That's just, I don't know. And then the swings always have to remain calm in highly stressed times, like, that would, like, send, like, I'm sure it does make them pretty stressed out, but, like, could you imagine, like, you just, like, the show goes on in, like, an hour, and you have to go on for this part.
Or, like, going on in the middle of the show.
Exactly. Like, you just
like, you're just chilling there watching the show, and it's like, oh, no, wait, you have to go on.
And, yeah, I don't know, it's like you're just, like, in your dressing room chilling, like, either watching it or, like, playing on your phone or doing, like, whatever you're doing, and then it's like, hey, yeah, you're gonna have to go out for this, she's, like, sick, so you have to go do this, and, like, then that's, like, gotta be crazy, like... I don't even know how you would just, like, get out there and do it. Like, it must be, like, so ingrained in their head that they just get out and, like, it's, like...
Yeah, and, like, even though, like, they're not in the show every night, like, I feel like they have to continuously practice because you need to be on your game to go. Yeah, like, like, they're probably always, like, reviewing, like, the script and, like, the score and, like, singing and doing the choreography and, like, stretching, like... But also, if you weren't, like, ready to go on, like, you have to... Or you may not be, like, warmed up or anything, so you may not know how it's gonna sound when you go to sing. I cannot even imagine being
a singer. Oh my god, that would be so terrifying. Definitely terrifying, but we'll be back after this break to talk about 5 facts of being a swing. We're back to talk about 5 facts about swing. So the first fact is that there are more swings on Broadway than people think. Depending on the length of the run, the more swings will be needed. The 2017 to 2018 season had a total of 323 swings, which that's, like, a lot. Yeah. Because, like, how they said, like, depending on, like, you know.
It depends on, like, how many people are in the show.
Yeah.
And, like, which then determines how many swings they have.
Swings often go on for more than one actor at a time. Because, like, you know, the whole theater term, the show must go, like, the whole term, the show must go on. So it's like, how we said, like, it's not gonna, you know, just because someone's out, it's not gonna stop. Like, they still have to put on, like, a performance, and, you know, because people are paying money to come see this, and they're paying, like, a lot of money most of the time, so, like, they're not gonna wanna, you know, watch something that's not...
Like, if they're, like, missing people, like... Like, you wouldn't think you'd notice it because there's so many people on stage, but I feel like you definitely would. So, like, it's important to have the people there to go on if you need.
Exactly. Shows don't have the correct number of people to fill roles. If doubt, lots of, like, it doesn't have... A show, like, they don't have, like, the correct number of, like, you know, that there's this many people and we would need, like, this many. They just kind of, like, you know, go with like, how much they think they need.
So it's not, like, a set number?
No, it's not a set number. Swings are required to fill multiple tracks simultaneously, which, like, that's crazy because they, you know, they have to swing on for, like I said, sometimes, like, more than just, like, one role. Like, they have to do, like, 2 or 3, like, that's a lot.
No, definitely.
And, like, probably a lot of, like, quick changes, like, to, like, quick get into, like, the next costume or, like, you know, all this stuff. They call this, when they have this, a split track, so they have to, like, you know, split track between this one and that one. Swings can cover roles originally cast as the opposite gender, which I think is interesting.
But yeah.
That's interesting. Depending on the show, swings may need to cover all ensemble tracks of both genders. So, like, in Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812, which I saw that was really cool. 7 swings cover 20 ensemble tracks. So, like, that's not, like, you know, enough for, like, 20 ensemble tracks.
Yeah.
So, like, of course they're gonna have to, like, a girl's gonna have to play, like a guy or, like, vice versa, but I think that's, like, cool that they're, like, able to, like, have those tracks for just, like, so they have, you know, so the show could still, like, go on and it's...
And, like, it'll still go
on.
It's
entirety, yeah. Swings can be contracted by multiple productions of one show. So they're called universal swings. So universal swings are known for knowing ensemble tracks for multiple different companies of the same show. So this means they would need to know all the vocals, blocking for Broadway production and the tours and all that stuff, and have to be able to adapt to each show. Which I think it's crazy that you could be swung from, like, Broadway to then, like, you're going on the tour, and I know, like, even though it's, like, the same, pretty much, like, concept.
Yeah, but that's, like, again, like, different cats you have to, like, get chemistry with, like, there's a different stage you have to perform on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, like, also, like, sometimes the tours are, like, different than, like, the musical, because I know in the case of Mean Girls, like, their tour, it's pretty much, like, different like, not, like, kind of different music, and, like, different, like, storyline, like, a little bit, like, it's still the same, and I know, like, they're adapting those changes to now Broadway, but, like, still, like, if you were a swing on that, and then you go then they move you to the tour, and they're like, this is all the changes, this is all this, like, this is what you gotta do, and then they swing you back to Broadway, and Broadway didn't make those changes, and it's like, now you have to go back to what you did.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, it may have been 4 months ago, but, like, now you gotta do all this stuff.
Oh my god.
Crazy. I don't, like, I think that aspect of it.
Swings need more, like,
appreciation.
They really do.
Like, honestly, like, for that aspect of it, like, that'd be, like, crazy. Like, oh my god, like, like, I don't know. Swings are among Broadway's most in-demand performers. Some of Broadway's most sought-out ensemblists make their careers as swings. Their ability to remember detail, execute with precision and safety, all while giving a top-notch performance. Which that, like, that would be, like, what you would want to, like, hire, like, a performer for, like, you know.
Yeah.
And especially, like, swings, like, you know, they're in demand most shows that you need them. And, like, to be able to have, like, you could execute, like, on, you know, like, on a snap of a button or whatever, and, like, you know, do all this stuff, and, like, that's amazing. And, like, how we said, like, they definitely need more recognition for what they're doing.
Yeah.
'Cause that's so much for one person, like, one or, like, you know.
Yeah.
1 or 2 people to be doing. It makes them highly desirable and highly employable because of, like, you know, their work ethic, because they know what they gotta do, like, you know, they're there to give a top-notch performance for, like, the audience, no matter, like, what they have to do or, like, wear or anything, like, you know, they're ready to get out there.
They're ready to go,
And also how they're, like, you know, good in highly stressed, you know, situations, which obviously you would be if, like, you have to do all that.
Definitely.
And you could be going on for more than, like, one swing track, so, like, that's, like, crazy to me. A swing is a triple threat, well, it's obviously, because they can both do it, you know, the choreo, they can vocally do it, and they can memorize. But they need to say the lines and everything, which, I don't know, I find that amazing, though, that they have to memorize all that stuff, and especially within there about, like, if they're a universal swing and could get swung out for, like, different companies of the show, and, like, tours and stuff, like, that's, like, a lot.
Crazy.
But that would be, like, really good. Like, you would want to hire someone just because, like, for a show, because you'd be like, okay, we need this person as a swing, they've already done this, they've already been a swing for, like, however many years, they know what the ropes are, they know, like, you know, they gotta be able to, like, go on no matter what, they gotta learn all this stuff.
Yeah, like, it says, like, you're highly employable. Like, if you're a good swing, they're gonna hire you again, like, at a different show because, like, you did so well in the first one.
Yeah, and most shows, and they're in demand to be a swing, so, like, if you're, like, good, you're gonna be hired, but, that's just a lot. They definitely need more recognition and should be praised more, because that's, like, a tough job to do.
Definitely.
we'll be back to talk about facts about being an understudy after this break. We're back to talk about facts about being an understudy. Oh boy. There's more than one type of understudy, and understudies are on stage each and every night. But that's also like, you know, a lot. Just like a swing, that's still a lot because you're on like, every night, so you have to know your, like for an understudy, you have to know your own like track, and then plus the principal or like the two principal people
that you're understudying,
while swings are off stage, and they swings mainly cover ensemble members, but they could swing into like, you know, a principal track. So if an actor is out, then a standby will go on, but if a standby is out, then the understudy will go on. So it's kind of confusing to think like they're like one and the same, I guess, but like not really, like I guess. I don't know, like, so I guess if a show had a standby, because I know not like all shows have standby, so like I guess like in the Wicked case, like if, you know, if Glinda was out, they go with the standby because they have standbys, but like other shows they would mainly like go with the understudy than like the standby. A swing will cover the and like then if an understudy is on, the swing will cover the understudy's part. So like still like the swing can be just thrown into like that, like at any given moment. Like especially in like the case of, you know, like if the principal like actor gets called out and then the understudy goes on, then the swing has to jump on for what the understudy is normally doing in the show. Like, that's crazy because like all of them then have to be like ready at like any given time. Although like an understudy, I think they more like know when they're going on. They have a little more like heads up, but still like like a drop of the hat they could be
put on.
Alternates cover specific performances to give the principal actor a break. So like they're interesting because I've never seen a show that like an alternate like went on. So like that's just, I guess there's a bunch of different names for understudies apparently. An actor auditions, which I think this is pretty interesting. An actor auditions to be an understudy. So like most times an actor auditions to be a swing, standby, or understudy, which like I found that interesting because like I didn't know. I mean like I guess there are people would be, but like I didn't know people would go in for that. Like
like that's what they're auditioning for, like just for that role.
But sometimes they'll audition for the principal role and be cast as the understudy, which I could
that makes sense.
That makes sense. I knew that. But like I didn't know that you could go in and be like, I'm auditioning to be the understudy of this. And, like, you know, just do it. Like I thought, like the kind of like what I just said. Like I thought, like, you know, more like you audition for the principal role and like, you know,
and like they'll decide where you go.
And they weren't you weren't exactly what they were looking to be like their main, but like you got the understudy, so like that's pretty good. But understudies rehearse regularly, so they rehearse twice a week, so like that's different from like a swing, because the swing doesn't get a lot of rehearsal, but like sometimes they do. But like at least in understudy, I know they have understudy rehearsals like twice a week, and it's usually like before the show and stuff. When they run, like, you know, the understudies will get into the costume by piece, and then the music director will read the lines, and then they'll like, you know, go back and forth.
Well, that's good. I mean, even though like they could be thrown in at any moment, like it's good to get practice.
So they rehearse, and like I think it's cool that they rehearse with like the other understudies, so like they're kind of like in a whole group, like at least they all know, you know, what they got to do and everything, and they have like each other. They cover multiple tracks. They watch, like an understudy, they have to watch the show. I know they're always watching and like, you know, making notes to like know like what they have to do and like, you know, just to, so they really know how they, like how the principal role sees it and like what they could do when they have to go on or like anything. And like also understudies can, like I said, they understudy multiple like principal roles, so they just like go back and forth. And usually if they have like, I know in Dear Evan Hansen they usually have like, I think it's like, I want to say like 2 or 3 understudies, and they all understudy the role of either Evan, Connor, or Jared. Like like Evan's like the main, but like they all like understudy those 3 characters. So like, you know, it's just a rotation then.
So like any of them could go on.
And like it's like, well, I know when I got at a certain point of like the Dear Evan Hansen run, the show like was so like heavy on like the principal actor that like the matinees of every show would be like done by an understudy.
Okay.
So like they would just like,
It's like rotate.
yeah.
That's kind of crazy to think about.
Exactly.
But they did it like every day.
Exactly. So they're never far from, understudies are never far from the theater. Standbys and swings like actually have to be in the theater when the show is happening, but they like do have like a lot of downtime when they're not doing anything. But either they watch they were understudies since they're in the show, they can't always watch the show. So that's one drawback of being like an understudy. You can't watch like a swing and standby have all this time, like extra time to do stuff. You're like in the show, you're doing your track, you're doing your role, like you gotta keep like yourself in check, but then also beyond like, okay, I may have to.
Like you don't get to like watch and like take notes every day.
Yeah, exactly. You
like,
don't get to really know. And every time they go on is different. It's hard to master the role when they don't do it as much, and also that they're not watching it like as much. And so they go on so infrequent. It's like the first time each and every time they get to step out on the role, unless like, you know, you're going on like weekly.
Or like when you saw like on Dear Evan Hansen, they were going on like every day. They were rotating, but like
exactly. Yeah. And like I said, they could go on at any time. Sometimes, and I'm sending those in advance, but most of the time, it's like a drop of the hat. Like it's like, okay, you're on for this. They get paid for every track, so swings get paid more due to how much they cover. Standbys cover 3 roles. Sometimes moving from a swing to an understudy is a pay cut, which I find very interesting.
Yeah.
If you would think like an understudy would be like the next top paid under like the principal, but I mean
honestly, like looking at how much a swing does, they do deserve more money, I guess.
Exactly. Like,
but like the understudy's in the show every night.
Yeah.
Whereas like the swing is not. So.
We'll be back to finish talking about understudies. And we're back to talk about understudies again. I just can't get over that. So there you go. You want the more money? Go be a swing.
Yeah.
You can't be the.
I told you they deserve more money.
Well, they do for how much they have to like. You know, they have to.
For how much they have to know.
Exactly.
They do, yeah.
But I feel like all 3, like the understudy, the standby, the swing, like they all like deserve like a lot for what they do. Like,
they all deserve.
But like a swing definitely takes the cake. Like they're sent pretty up in there. Hence why it's the most sought after, because people want to be it. Like
you're right.
Everyone wants it. I mean, like mainly people probably want to be like the lead, but like, hey, go be a swing. Sure, it's a lot of work, and you're probably gonna cry all the time. It's okay.
It's fine.
So like understudies, they get a bonus if they cover principal roles. Broadway performers get paid for 8 shows a week. When an understudy goes on for a principal role, they get paid $300 a show, but get an extra $300 for the role. You're making $600 right there.
Yeah.
Think about it. One person's out like the whole thing, and you get that's a lot of money. You're raking in the cash for 8 shows a week. But you only get a bonus if you go on for a principal role. So I'd be like, oh, do you need any time off? Go ahead, take some time off. You know, like really use some money. Yeah. But that's pretty cool though that they like. It's like an incentive, I guess, for like all the work
because
they do.
I feel like a lot of people might not want to be a swing just because of like the fact that how much work has to go.
Exactly. Or like an understudy. Most people don't want to, because they're like, you know, in the show already, but they probably don't want to like, you know, you have to understudy the role, but then you get like a bonus for going up. So like,
true.
And especially the role you go on for. So like, hey, if you're playing like the lead, like you're getting that extra $300, so you're probably happy and don't care. I'm sure it's like tiring and stuff, and like tedious the work, but like if you're getting like extra money, like
why not?
Okay, why not? Like, you know, let's go do it. So like there are some famous understudies. So like the main one being Sutton Foster, she understudied in Grease and Les Mis. She gained a Tony Award for performance as Fiona in Shrek, and she's like now gone on to do so much like TV. Like she's in that younger, I think it's younger, something like that. Maybe. She's in some show. I know she is. And then she's gonna be like whenever I think it's gonna, now they pushed it back to the fall, she's supposed to be in The Music Man, like with
Oh,
Hugh
go see that.
Jackman.
I'm supposed to be going to see that.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
there you go. So you'll see that thunder. And then I also know she was like in Anything Goes, and like she performed at the Tonys, went back.
Okay.
So like that just like kind of like proves to you that you like, yeah, you may start out as an understudy, but you can be like promoted to be like the lead, and like look at how she's doing. She's sitting pretty with the bugs. She's doing a lot of stuff, and no one looks at her that's like, hey, you were just an understudy in Grace, or like, and Les Mis, but like she, you know, got a Tony Award for Fiona and Shrek, which that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Since that's like I've watched, cause that's on like Netflix, like of it, like Shrek the Musical, and she is really good as that. Like I would love to see that. Not that Shrek was my thing, but like interesting. Like that's pretty cool though. Like,
definitely.
Another one is Matthew Morrison. So his first role was an understudy in Footloose. He went on to be Will Schuester in Glee. That pretty much everyone knows. So he made it big. And he was also Link in Hairspray. He was in Light of the Piazza and South Pacific. So he went on to do like numerous amounts of Broadway stuff, and then like ultimately most people know him as from Glee, like that he went on to do like that TV show.
And that was a lot of seasons too, for like with like a main role.
8, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
But like that just also proves that like, you know, you may start out like, you know, you're not the best. Not that you're not the best, but you're like not in the lead role, or like, you know, and it might not be like what you like maybe they didn't necessarily like being an understudy or whatever, but like he worked your way up, like he worked his way up, and he's look at him.
You're right.
He's doing pretty well.
Definitely.
And then another one is Leah Michelle. So when she's 9 years old, she understudied Gavroche in Les Mis, and then she went on to play young Cosette and young Eponine in Les Mis, and then she was Rachel Berry. Yeah, she's the main in Glee. But like she went on to be very successful. Like she still has some singing, you know, because Glee is like was a musical thing. Theme, so she went on singing, and like she did concerts and everything like that. So like, you know, started. I mean, granted, she was like only 9 when she was in understudies, and compared to
but like
those
to think that you like
but
started that young, and then like look where she is now. Like that's really cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's interesting that she started out like that. Yeah. Like exactly. Like as a young understudy, and then like she obviously, because you have to be young to play those 2 young parts, so it obviously like didn't take her long to like be promoted up from like an understudy.
Definitely.
But then like, you know, 'cause some people think like being an understudy, like you're not, you know, you're never gonna make the big bucks if you're not like gonna do, but then those 3 are like proof that like, you know, with hard work you can work your way up to being
very successful.
And then no one's gonna look back and be like, oh, you were an understudy? Like, oh, I can't believe that.
No, definitely.
Like, I feel like that's like I don't know, like people sometimes think that, you know, being an understudy is like a death wish or what, like, I don't know, like not like death.
No, but like they don't look at it like,
death.
Like, oh, if you're an understudy, like, you're not really gonna go anywhere because, like, nobody knows your name. But, like, that's not true.
But, like, obviously, if you audition to be an understudy, maybe, like, you wouldn't be that sad, but most people, like, when they get, like, oh, that they're an understudy, they take it as, like, the worst, like, some people take it as, like, the worst news
like,
ever.
I wasn't good enough to, like,
like, they get hard on themselves when, like, you know, just because you are that, like, doesn't mean that, like, you're gonna, like, stick like that. You could, like, venture off and, like,
definitely
do really great things and still be successful, and but like, hey, you're an understudy and you go on for a big role, you're getting $300 as they say, so like, you know, just because you may not think it's like what you want, and plus you're still in the show.
That's
like,
true, like you're in it every night.
And you're like doing something every night, you're still a part of like the company, you're still like probably friends with like everyone in the cast, you're still in the chemistry with all of them, and like, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not like a terrible thing, but like I can see, because, you know, most people want to be, you know, the lead and everything, but like that doesn't always happen sometimes, so you gotta like take what you get and like hope that, you know, eventually you'll get and just believe in yourself.
Yeah, you gotta work and then you'll make it successful.
What is it? I was gonna say, I don't know, so is there some cliche Disney line about believing in yourself?
Yeah. You do.
A dream is a wish your heart makes. So there you go. If you dream it and wish it, like you're gonna be on the lead. You're gonna be right on that stage. Your name's gonna be on the top of the playbill. Like, you know, could be on the marquee. Could end up on TV. Like,
definitely.
Who knows? All right. Make sure to listen live at cougarradio.net. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Like us on Facebook at Cougar Radio. Subscribe on YouTube and Spotify to watch and listen to all your favorite podcast shows. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week.